Good morning. My name's Yvonne Blomer, and I'm recording a reading for the Dead Poets Society with thanks to Isabella Wang and the Dead Poets Society for inviting poets to do this. A couple of years ago, I read at Dead Poets, and the poet I read was Sei Shonagon from the Pillow Book, and I thought I would read some of her pieces at this time as well. So Sei Shonagon is a 9th to 10th century Japanese kind of ladies' woman. She was part of the emperor's court, but quite low down in the fold of that. And she kept a kind of journal called the Pillow Book, and in it talks about daily life and lists of things, often like lists of rivers or lists of mountains, and captures what life was for women at that time, or court women, I should say, at that time. And she is quite opinionated and quite, you can see the class system in place by some of the things she notes. But she's delightful in what she captures, and I thought it would be at this time that we are all living through, the women in Japan at that time were quite isolated and separated out, and they had their own language and were kind of separate from the men's world, and but their lives were very rich as well, and I thought she would be an interesting person to think about at this time. And also lists. We could all sit and write lists with fun little titles like things that are boring or things that are the same or something like that. So I'm going to read a few of hers, and I'm going to start with number 27. So all of them are just numbered. Things that make you feel nostalgic. A dried sprig of aoi. Things children use in doll play. Coming across a torn scrap of lavender or grape-colored fabric crumpled between the pages of a bound book. On a rainy day, when time hangs heavy, searching out an old letter that touched you deeply at the time you received it. Last year's summer fan. Unsuitable things. Snow falling on the houses of the common people. Moonlight shining into such houses is also a great shame. So is meeting with a plain, roofless ox cart on a moonlit night, or seeing a cart of this sort being drawn by an auburn-colored ox. An aging woman who is pregnant. It's disgusting when she has a young husband, and even worse when she's in a temper over his going off to another woman. Also a bit of a gossip, as you can see. Startling and disconcerting things. The way you feel when an ornamental comb that you are in the process of polishing happens to bump against something and suddenly snaps. An ox cart that's overturned. You've assumed that something of such enormous bulk must of course be thoroughly stable, and you're simply stunned to see it lying there and deeply disconcerted. Someone bluntly saying things that are embarrassing and unpleasant for the other person. It's horrible, startling, and disconcerting to stay up all night waiting, certain that someone will come, then finally begin to give up thought of him as dawn breaks and drift off to sleep, only to wake with a start when a crow caws suddenly just outside and discover that it's broad daylight. I love her. She's got such opinions. Horrid, filthy things. Slugs. The tip of a broom used to sweep some shabby wooden floor. The bowls of the privy chamber. Terrifying things. thunder at night, a thief breaking into a nearby house. If it's your own place he's broken into, you're too beside yourself to know what's happening. A fire nearby is also terrifying. Things that give you confidence. Healing incantations performed with a large number of accompanying priests when you're ill. To be comforted when you're feeling low by someone you truly love. And I'll end on things that give you pleasure. You've read the first volume of a tale you hadn't come across before and are longing to go on with it when you find the other volume. The rest of it can sometimes turn out to be disappointing, however. Piecing back together a letter that someone has torn up and thrown away, and finding that you can read line after line of it. It's extremely pleasing when you've had a puzzling dream which fills you with fear at what it may portend, and then you have it interpreted, and it turns out to be quite harmless. Someone you love is praised by others, and some high-ranking person comments that his talents are not inconsiderable. When a poem that you've composed for some event or in an exchange of poems is talked of by everyone and noted down when they hear it. This hasn't yet happened to me personally, but I can imagine how it would feel. And I'll end there. Thank you so much for listening, and I think it would be great to keep a little journal of things that are ... Thanks so much. Bye.